Hello, everyone. We are here on episode number 5. As you can see, my guest, he's with SBA, Small Business Administration. So today's title is Most Fire Survivors Don't Know About SBA Loans. It could cost you. So it's basically, we're going to talk about different programs, especially for fire victims and homeowners and business owners. So rebuilding after the Eaton Fire isn't just about construction. It's about financing the path forward. In this episode, we sit down with the SBA representative to break down how disaster loans actually work and how they can help Altadena homeowners and small business owners to recover. We cover who qualifies, what these loans can be used for, and how SBA support can help fill gaps left in the insurance or by the insurance, especially for those facing underinsurance or unexpected rebuilding costs. If you heard about the SBA loan but aren't sure whether to apply, this episode gives you a clear understanding, practical answers, so you can make informed decisions during the difficult times. So today we have Gabriel here with the SBA. He's a public information officer. Gabriel, thank you for being here. If you can briefly introduce yourself and let us know what you're currently working on with the wildfire survivors in Altadena and I'm sure at Palisades.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for allowing us the time and the opportunity to be here with you today. And as you say, the work that you're doing with Altadena Rebuild project is amazing. I think that any resource that can become available, whether it's information only or financial in these areas, as you mentioned, both Altadena and the Palisades is important, and it's even more critical when it's coming from one of its own, somebody like yourself who is from the community, somebody like yourself who did lose your residence as well. So we're here. We've been on the ground since last January 10th, a couple of days after the wildfire, and we continue to be here. And so really what our goal is here at the Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience is to help residents of both Altadena and the Palisades figure out a financial way forward, right? We've come to learn and find out over the course of the past year that there are plenty of individuals, plenty of survivors who are either underinsured, not insured, or don't have the full financial means to get their lives and their homes back in order. And so SBA is here to say we're here to help, and certainly for those that qualify, offer them the resources necessary to hopefully get back into their homes sooner than later.
Yeah. And I thank you as well for your organization. It's a great organization. At first, I thought it was just for small business type of help and relief, but you guys are stepping in for homeowners. So it's not just small business as the title, as the title of the organization is small business.
Sure.
So thank God for you guys, because when we lost the house, we right away knew our insurance wasn't going to be enough to rebuild. So when we heard that there's a disaster assistant loan program with the SBA, that gave us a big hope, especially in the beginning. So you guys, thank you for being stand fast and there right away.
In the case like this declaration, which is considered in our eyes a presidential declaration, or not in our eyes, it was actually the administration declared it a presidential declaration. There's FEMA, SBA, and other agencies that were at the Disaster Recovery Center, which is now known as the Collaborative.
Mhm.
And so, we are still there. We
Yeah.
still have customer service staff for any individual, any homeowner, any renter, any business, that nonprofit that would like to come in and talk to our staff as well, and get some questions answered, or get some assistance with their application. The great news is we're still on site, in Altadena. We're there from 9 to 6 every day, Monday through Friday.
Mhm. Mhm.
And in the Palisades, we're there from 8:30 to 5 p.m. every day. out at the American Legion Hall at 12547 La Cruz Drive in
Hmm.
the Palisades. So we still, as we say, have boots on the ground, and with the overall goal of being able to help each and every person that has no other means to get assistance, and hopefully we can assist
Hmm.
them, as we said, individuals or businesses get back on track.
Yeah, yeah. So my next question is, what type of assistance, like you mentioned, does the SBA provide to individuals, homeowners, and small business after disaster like
Sure.
the wildfires we just had?
Great question. And first of all, let me just clarify again, as you said, right? During a time of disaster, SBA not only helps businesses, but we help
Hmm.
homeowners, renters, and nonprofits as
Hmm.
well. So there's a big misconception that because we carry business in our name, that
Hmm.
we're only here for the business community, as you mentioned, but nothing can be further from the truth.
Hmm.
At a time of disaster, our administration understands that everybody needs assistance.
Yes, yes.
Therefore, each assistance that we provide is different. So, for example, our homeowners that had physical damage or lost their home can qualify for up to $500,000. That's at a interest rate as low as 263 over the course of a 30-year term with no payments and no interest for the first year.
Hmm.
Now, homeowners alike and renters can also qualify for an additional $100,000, and
Hmm.
that's for personal loss. So anything inside the home, clothes, furniture, and even up to including vehicles can qualify for an additional $100,000. And again, it's the same interest rate as low as 2.563%, up to a 30-year term with, again, no payments and no interest for the first year as well.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is a big number, and hopefully, something that can help bridge the gap, because truly that's what we do. If you are insured, your insurance might cover a certain portion, and our goal is to cover anything that's missing or needed to make you as whole as possible the way you were prior to January 7th of last year.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
the other thing that we're offering homeowners right now is mitigation funds. Right now, a year later, as people are really now starting to get into conversations with their architects, engineers, with their GCs,
Hmm.
mitigation has become a huge added benefit for a lot of survivors, because with SBA's mitigation funds, we're offering, again, homeowners up to an additional 20% of the total verified loss, up to an extra $500,000 to go ahead and mitigate not only for future fires, but it can be earthquakes,
Hmm.
flooding, mudslides. As long as you're really rebuilding your home back better and smarter, well, as we call it, better and smarter, against adding preventative measures for future disasters, then the possibility that you can qualify for an additional 20% exists, again, up to $500,000 as well.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, because in my case, I'm on a hillside. So
Sure.
after the fire, there was no vegetation, holding the ground rooted. So everything, all the topsoil that was there for, centuries or decades, it just slid down and actually flooded my home. So one thing I got to do is now I got to make retaining walls. I have an inlet that's with the public works. We're working with them to make that more efficient. And so I'm definitely going to call you guys about that to do the retaining walls for, like you said, flood. And then, of course, the way we're building, is going to be earthquake and wind and fire, all that proof as well. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, because I'm sure we're gonna need more funds because we're not doing like for like too. So we're improving a little bit, and because of that, it's gonna increase the cost to rebuild. Uh,
Absolutely.
have that, and since we're talking about these extra benefits and loans that most people don't know, uh, what I heard also, because now it's already been over a year, our insurance fund actually ran out for our rent fund. So now, we're basically paying out of our pocket to live somewhere else. And, of course, we have a mortgage of the house that burned. So we're thinking, it's now the rebuild process is also taking longer than, hopefully soon within the next few weeks we should get our permits. So most likely we're gonna need somewhere to live for another year and a half to 2 years, if not more. God forbid, because with construction there's always unforeseens, there's always delays, there's always things that can go wrong. Yeah. So we're thinking, since we can't build right away and live, we heard that there's another loan as well where you can get a loan to live, to get another home. So is there something like that as well where?
So again, in terms of rentals and renting, right? That is not necessarily a product that we offer to pay for your rental.
Mhm,
Again, but just kind of going back to the mitigation that I was originally mentioned, and offering an additional 20% up to 500,000.
mhm,
Really, it allows somebody like yourself. Now you're talking about 500,000 for physical loss,
mhm.
100,000 for personal loss, and then possibly an extra 500,000 for mitigation. So that puts you at, let's say, $1.1 million possibly, to go ahead and again build that gap and rebuild better and smarter, right? So that's
Okay.
kind of the big overall number that I want to bring you back to as a whole.
Okay.
In terms of the rentals, I know that that's become a hot button topic with insurance providers, with FEMA. And, from my perspective, I truly just like to stay in my lane, and I can only speak to my program and
Okay.
offer, right?
Sure,
But I
sure.
would certainly encourage everybody to continue to reach out and have those conversations with your insurance company, with FEMA. And worst case scenario, if there is a pressing need and you have already applied for SBA and have a case manager, then
Mhm.
that's maybe a conversation that you can have with your case manager,
Right.
and see if there's anything that they can do from their end. But again, from the rental side and just paying for your current rental, it's not something that we're normally assisting with, unfortunately.
Okay, so quick recap on just the home, and then we can jump on. I believe one of the questions is for business loans for people that
Absolutely.
lost their business. So you get the 500,000 or so with the 2 point. What was the percentage?
563%.
563%, and that's for the home. And then you can get a mitigation loan for to do improvements and code upgrades and home hardening and defense for whatever problems because every home is different depending on where it's located, and you can get additional 500,000 for the same interest rate as well, right?
Correct. Up to an additional 500K, but it's actually 20% of your total verified loss, up to 500,000 for mitigation.
So total verified loss. Okay. And
Correct.
then there's also, you said, a personal property of another 100K.
Uh,
Is that a separate loan or the same?
Personal loss is considered anything that was inside your home, so
Hmm.
clothes, furniture, and even including your vehicles.
Okay.
So
And that's so it's 500, 500, and then are these all three different applications, or does that 100 go into the mitigation loan as well?
so technically, when you're applying, you do have to share with our staff that you are applying for all three.
Okay.
Let them know, hey, I'm here because I want to apply for physical loss, I want to apply for personal loss, and I want to apply for mitigation.
Okay.
And they'll go ahead and process that accordingly. And then again, if you've already done an application, let's say for physical and personal loss, and are just now getting into the construction, as I mentioned, where mitigation really becomes some that you think you can benefit from,
Hmm.
then again, go back in, talk to our customer service staff, or talk to your case manager as well, and say, hey, listen, I just heard about mitigation that up to 20%. I'd like to apply for it as well. And at
Okay.
that point, they can go ahead and submit that request also. But yeah, overall, from a homeowner renter standpoint, that really is the core of our program. And again, it's intended to help those that really, really just have no other way or means of getting help elsewhere, right?
Hmm.
We have just, in the interest of full disclosure, we have two criteria. to qualify for an SBA loan.
Mm-hmm.
Number one is that you have to have credit acceptable to SBA.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, you need to be able to repay back the loan. Again, this is a loan, this is not a grant.
Yes.
There has been some confusion with some survivors as to whether or not they would have to repay this back. And unequivocally, the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is a loan that has to be paid back. It's, our loans are backed by the US Treasury. So, we just want to be clear on that. Now,
Yes.
in terms of, credit acceptable to SBA, there's no magic score. There's not an 800 score or a 700 credit score that's going to qualify you. SBA, our loan officers, take a look at everything holistically, your whole financial picture. And then they determine, okay, this is somebody that makes sense, has a need, we want to help out, right?
Mm-hmm.
In reality, it works a little backwards in the real world, in that those that have been doing a great job in, let's say, maintaining, preserving their credit history,
Mm-hmm.
and doing everything, for many years to have pristine credit or great credit, those folks we know can get outside lending elsewhere, right? So they may not qualify for the 2.563. They might have a different interest rate that might be
Yeah.
slightly higher. But for those that don't have the ability to get credit elsewhere, those are the individuals that we're saying, we understand that you cannot get assistance anywhere else. And we think that you might be a good candidate for us.
Yes.
As long as you're able to repay this loan, then the likelihood or the chances definitely go up, and hopefully allow those, again, in the biggest of need and the most vulnerable, to help get themselves back on track as well.
Yeah, and I know we have a lot of questions ahead, but this popped out in my head. This is only for people that lost a house. Does it also include people that were smoke damage?
It does. So, yeah, this is definitely not just for people that lost their home completely. This is for
Mm.
anybody that had physical damage as well.
Okay, and then is there like a certain radius mileage from the fire that will qualify? Because someone can say, "Oh yeah, I'm down by Long Beach, and I smelled the smoke, and it went through the my room or whatever."
So, the one of the I should have prefaced this, and obviously you have to be within the area, right,
Okay.
where the disaster occurred.
Okay.
Typically here in LA County is going to be a requirement for those that are seeking I had physical damage to my property.
Okay.
So as long as you're within LA County and you had physical damage as a result of the fire, then we would absolutely consider it.
I see. I see. So there isn't like a certain radius of mileage from the fire to consider all that because some LA counties are quite out uh west or east
Mhm.
to Pasadena. But anyways,
Okay.
that's something.
That's a good point. So, I mean, ultimately, and we get more into it with our business community, which is our idle programs. And not only is it for those that are in LA County, but it also is for those that are in Kern, Orange, San Bernardino,
Oh,
and Ventura as well. But again, that is specific to our business community,
oh, business, not the disaster.
not
Oh
home.
yeah. Okay. All right,
Correct.
good to know. So, next question, number 3. Many people hear SBA loans and aren't sure what that means. Can you explain in simple terms how SBA disaster loan works? You kind of did, but if you want to just briefly give like a quick.
Absolutely. So overall, again, the idea behind SBA's disaster loans is to help fill in the gap. You know, we say bridge the gap between what you have or what you were provided or covered with through your insurance, through FEMA, through any funding that you may have gotten already,
Mhm,
and for us to bridge the gap to try to make you as whole as possible, the way you were prior to January the 7th.
mhm,
Again, typically what we do, as you mentioned, you've mentioned the term, and this term is also, again, just gaining a lot of traction, is the like for like, right?
mhm,
So SBA's funds are intended to cover like for like repair or replacement, right?
mhm,
You cannot go from a 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom home that's 1,000 square feet and say, "Hey, SBA, I want you to cover me now for this 5 bedroom, 5 bedroom, 3 bathroom that I want to rebuild at 3,000 square feet."
Mm.
Because then SBA will likely say that's not going to work for us.
Oh, okay.
So again, it does have to be like for like. Again, how you customize the interior, a whole different story. But if it's a 1,500 square foot home, we're typically going to allow a 10% buffer,
Hmm.
either over or under. But overall, it really is a like for like intended to cover.
Hmm.
We don't cover the cost of adding ADUs, which has also become a hot button
Yeah.
topic around the area. So if you had an ADU previously,
Yeah.
then it can be considered. But if the idea is that
A new
you
one.
want to add the ADU using SBA funds, unfortunately, that is something that we wouldn't cover.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
The idea is how can we best help people again rebuild to the way they were prior to the wildfire?
Yeah. Keep it as fair and possible for both sides. All right. So we talked about homes. So now we can, I guess, talk about the difference between home loan versus small business loan. Because as Altadena does have a lot of businesses, especially on Lake or on Fair Oaks, Lincoln, which some of those
All of
businesses
yeah,
burned.
absolutely all up and down.
Like in my case, I had a small business loan as well because I had a home based business. I was a beekeeper. I used to do farmers market and things like that. So yeah, what have you been like? What can you share about that?
Sure. Well, that's a great question. Absolutely. Let's get into the business side of things for our business community. And,
Mhm,
the same thing applies in terms of how we position it, right? Any business that has either had damage to their property
mhm.
or their business is no longer there, that either needs to repair or replace their structure, they can qualify for up to $2 million.
Okay.
And that's at an interest rate as low as 4%,
Mhm,
same up to 30-year term with
mhm.
no payments and no interest for the first year.
First year. Okay.
Absolutely. The first 12 months. And one thing to keep in mind about that first payment is it's 12 months after your first disbursement because you can qualify, you can get approved, you can qualify, get approved. Doesn't mean you have to take the funds at that very moment.
Yes.
You can say, hey, okay, Mr. and
Excuse
Mrs.
me.
Survivor, you are approved. You can say, okay, great. Well, hold on to those funds for me because I'm not ready to start building yet.
Right.
I'm not
Yeah.
ready to get going. So really you have the possibility of extending the time frame before you get your first disbursement,
Mhm.
assuming that it happens what we say within a reasonable time. What can be expected? You'll have 60 days to approve or to either approve or deny the loan if you
Oh,
get approved. And then at that point, if you're still not ready for the funds, you can request an extension and potentially get a 6-month extension to give you some time to get everything else lined up or in order in terms of, again, getting your architects, engineers, GCs,
mhm.
permitting, things of that nature.
Yeah.
If for
Yeah.
some reason it still doesn't happen within that first 6-month extension, you can potentially request a second or an additional 6-month extension.
Mhm, mhm.
And so you really are looking maybe at a year down the line before you have to actually take that first disbursement. And when you do that, that's when the clock starts ticking. The 12 months of no payments, no interest for the first year will begin at that point whenever we do send you the first disbursement of funds.
I see.
So
Yeah.
that's one key component of this as well.
And then you guys are very understanding because I did have to get a second extension, which I think ends in July or June. I think something like that because we're having issues with the permitting and and all that. So I think that extension really helps, and that 0% really helps. I mean, I wish it was for the whole 30 years, but I don't want to ask for too much. But yeah, 1 year is still something. So thank you for having all those considerations, for us. So
Well,
next,
no
yeah,
coworker.
did you?
SBA has been in the disaster has been in the business of helping disaster survivors for quite some time, right? And so we're certainly doing everything within our means, within our power to make it um,
As
make
easy
it
as possible,
as
less
easy as possible,
because
less
we're yeah.
restrictive, and giving everybody the opportunity to rebuild, right? In an ideal world, absolutely. My hometown was part of a disaster last year as well, and while I would have loved a 0% as well, then if that was the case, I don't think they'd have the ability to pay me to come talk to you guys and educate you, right?
Right.
But no, overall, truly, SBA's product, disaster loan products, compared to the open market, the general market,
Hmm.
there really is no comparison.
Yeah.
You really can't go out to an outside lender and see anything near 2.563 for the most part,
Yeah. Absolutely.
or as low as 4% for the business community.
Business. Yeah.
It really is a figure that's intended, again, to help communities rebuild.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's the key focus for SBA. How can we help the communities rebuild that have been impacted, right?
Yeah.
Fortunately, this community is as big as they've come. And so it's not an easy task. It's a
Hmm.
complex task,
Hmm.
so many other reasons. And what we're trying to do is just offer our assistance in the way that we've done it for 75 years and say, here's how we're willing to help. And if you
Hmm.
need assistance, you need to get your life back on track, let's have this conversation, because
Okay.
this product might help you, might assist you in saving your home and your
Hmm.
life good. And guess what? That's great. Also keep in mind, for whatever reason, our product is not intended for everybody. And it might not be ideal for somebody, and that's okay too. Our hope is that the community at large can, again, show its resilience, get back to rebuilding, whether they use SBA or not, or, if they don't, that's okay too. The desired end result is, let's build back the communities that have been impacted.
Yes, yes, definitely. And thank you for, helping us with that because that is a big challenge for sure to do that. And I really appreciate, yeah, because the insurance and some of the other agencies are helping. Obviously, insurance we were paying for it, uh, but yeah, SBA is really stepping it up and helping us almost equivalent to the insurance kind of, whatever we got from insurance. So yeah,
Cool.
I'm very,
Wonderful.
very appreciative for that. Yeah, thank you very much.
Of course.
So
And then let me
uh,
just throw in one more thing, if you don't mind,
yeah,
Kavorka.
yeah, of course.
Before we get off the small business
Mhm.
conversation, or businesses that were impacted as well, right? One
Yeah.
of the other things we talked about, physical damage to businesses, and again, whether they need to rebuild their structure or repair the structure. Now we have another element or another resource available for businesses as well, and that's called our idle loans. That's economic injury disaster loans. So this is to help the businesses that their structure is intact, their building is intact, they continue to operate. However, unfortunately, they're not getting the same type of business
Mhm.
that they were before, right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe because half of the community is no longer
Gone.
there. People
Yeah.
are not coming to shop. People are not coming to buy. So that is considered economic injury with SBA.
Mhm.
And for businesses that are suffering economic injury, they can also qualify for up to $2 million.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
again, that loan is intended to be a working capital loan, help businesses pay the bills, pay the lights, meet payroll, make the mortgage payment, the rent payment.
Yeah.
So it really is intended to offer this working capital to continue to get them through these very difficult times.
Right.
And it's the same interest as the traditional business, which is as low as 4%.
Mhm.
And same up to 30-year term with the no payments and no interest for the first
Mhm.
year, with the added caveat and benefit that title is not specific to Los Angeles County only. That's where the other counties come in that I had shared previously. Again, Kern, Orange, San
Mhm.
Bernardino, and Ventura. There's a possibility that there's businesses within those counties that were doing business, let's say in Altadena or the Palisades,
Right.
that have been impacted, economically. And
Yeah.
so they can qualify for these loans as well. I'll give you a perfect example. There was in Texas, there was a high-end flooring company in 4 counties down pretty much, but a county that was covered that
Mhm.
used to provide high-end flooring to the impacted area.
Mhm.
And because their business suffered because that high-end area was no longer buying their flooring business, they're suffering economic injury. So there's many situations that I can think of around these areas where businesses just right outside the county that are again no longer experiencing the same type of growth revenue for their businesses. If that's the case, they can also apply for one of our idle loans as well and hopefully get themselves back on track
Nice,
with
nice,
the help
yeah.
of this working capital.
Yeah, especially if, that was their main, bread and butter, where they were, let's say, getting 100,000 a year, and all of a sudden this past 2025 they only did 150. I mean, 15,000. So that's a big loss of income. Uh,
Absolutely.
so they're able to, get
Sure.
and this, of course, for a small, I'm talking about like small business. If it's a small business, you would probably get a loan for 150, and if it's, let's say, $1 million and you make 100,000, then you could probably qualify for a million or more. I'm guessing that's how it would be.
Absolutely. No, and it'll pretty
Eh,
much take into consideration your previous history, right? And
yeah,
it'll balance out
yeah,
without a doubt. There's not going to be a $2 million loan on a business that's been making 100,000 for 3 years.
yeah, right,
So
yeah,
it'll be in line with the business's historical data, and they'll ask for tax returns and things of that
tax
nature
returns,
once you're
yeah,
going through the process to go ahead and decide on a number that is right in line with the business loss. And the important thing to know, I think you mentioned yourself that you had a small business. I didn't realize you were a beekeeper. So,
yeah,
you were operating out of your home and your business was there. It's possible that you can get the physical damage for your home and
hmm,
then loss of your business.
hmm,
So it doesn't have to be one or the other. You can potentially get both
yeah,
is one thing that I really want to emphasize here.
hmm,
It's an opportunity for those that were operating as a business, despite where your business was, whether it was in the home or standalone or not. If it was within the areas we just covered, it can potentially qualify for either our physical damage or our idle loan as well.
yeah, 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 yeah. Because I did get my business loan first through SBA, and then we got the home loan after, like a couple months later.
And
So
and
yeah,
you and let me just finalize. I know one point as well, or emphasize another point. You mentioned that your extension is till July 30th. So SBA again, because we were on the ground again 3 days after the disaster,
hmm,
there was a tremendous amount of individuals that applied early on.
hmm,
And so their notes are, or their first payments are coming up, right? We want to let you all know that there was an executive order that if you haven't requested a disbursement, which if you were one of the first people that applied in the month 1, month 2, it's quite possible that you're being told, "Hey, you need to get your funds dispersed." Well,
hmm.
an executive order came out saying that you can wait until June the 30th, even if it prolongs, the time frame, the extensions that we talked about, the year, which is pretty much right in line now. You have up until June
Oh,
30th in order
okay.
to get those funds dispersed. If you were one of those individuals that applied early on and you're pretty much at a year down the
Oh,
road.
okay. Because I just made my first payment a couple weeks ago for the small business.
Sure, sure, sure. Well, and your funds were dispersed then, right? But I'm saying for some that still haven't had their funds dispersed and we're
Oh,
going
okay.
to make that decision
Yeah.
here very soon. The good news is that the executive order came out allowing them until June 30th
Okay.
to go ahead and decide. So it gives them a few more months before they end up having to say, yes, let's go ahead and move forward and disperse or
Hmm. Okay. So it's only for people that didn't get the money and they were waiting to get it. Like
correct.
that's what I'm
That
doing with
have
the
met
home loan.
correct. And that have met the extensions already And now we're at the point where they had to decide, do I
Mhm.
need to take it or not take it? And now they have until June 30th.
How can SBA loans specifically help Altadena residents rebuild after the total loss?
That's a great question, and we've talked about it a little bit already.
Yeah, we did.
We first and foremost, we need to get you into our office. As of today, you can no longer apply over the telephone. You cannot apply online. We are accepting new applications on a case by case basis, but you will have to actually walk into either the collaborative, there at 540 Woodbury, or
Hmm.
again, Legion Hall at the Palisades, and request to speak to our customer service staff so that they can help you in processing an application if you haven't applied already.
Hmm.
For those that have potentially applied and maybe their um, loans, because all of once you apply, everything's handled through a portal, and so you get a portal, as you may well know, that really asks you for the next steps and next processes, right?
Hmm.
Unfortunately, we have a lot of individuals that either missed a time frame or a deadline on the portal, and it kind of sends them to a inactive bucket or somewhere
Hmm.
else. We
Right.
need to get them out of that, bring them back into active status. Once with inactive status again, how can we help? Well, we're offering the resources that you would need to rebuild. I mean, plain and simple, black and white, right?
Yeah.
If you need the funds to get started with your soft costs, right? You need to maybe pay the architect, the engineer. The first disbursement is once approved is can be dispersed fairly quickly, typically 10 to 14 business days.
Hmm.
And then it's normally under 50,000 or it's at 50,000
Hmm.
and that is unsecured. So you can take those funds and maybe start using those immediately again for soft costs or whatever you need to start that process rolling.
Okay.
Every disbursement after that it is pretty much like a draw on a new home build, right? As work is being done, then SBA disperses funds accordingly.
Hmm.
So it really does give you some flexibility to get going. You don't have to wait for, if you're still caught up with insurance, litigation, and you're like, but I'm ready to start building, you can start using your SBA funds for that
Okay.
as everything else kind of gets handled in the background.
Now, real quickly, so those are like you mentioned about insurance that are underinsured, that are facing the gaps, and so SBA obviously helps. Like you said, you can use that fund to start filling those gaps to get started, to get going. My question is, you get the first disbursement of $50,000, and then the rest of the money you need to pay the architect, engineer after they get your permits and everything, and then you need to put down payments on material. Does it just the rest of the money? Does it just come, or do we have to keep sending report? Oh, we need this much more, or does it come in lump sum? That one I'm not sure. If you can tell us.
No, it's a draw, like a new home build, right? So you get the first disbursement, 50K, and then once you get going in the process, and once the build starts, or you're going to pour foundation,
Hmm.
and there's a document that you'll have to send to us. Hey, listen, this is what we're getting ready to do next. This is the cost. They'll go ahead and distribute. Here's the
Okay.
next part of the process. This is where we're going next. Then there's a distribution. So that's typically the way those work.
Okay.
Um, but again, there can certainly be some, I don't want to say a workaround, but there can certainly be possibly a deviation in things, but those are conversations that each individual, each survivor will have to have that conversation with their case manager.
Yeah.
So if there's something that needs to get done or something additional that's needed or something that came up and
Yeah.
requires something else, get on the phone with your case manager. The case
Yeah.
manager truly is going to be the person that you're going to walk lockstep with, hand in hand,
Yeah.
throughout the course of the process to, again, facilitate making you as whole as possible,
Yeah.
again, the way you were prior
Yeah. Yeah,
to the
because every home, every case is different, totally different. Like in my case, I have a home and a business, and I'm on a hillside, and I'm a lot of different moving objects, agencies. that I have to deal with the county, public works, forestry,
Sure.
a lot of different different entities I gotta be in queue with. And yeah, and our case manager, like you said, which ours is Ivan. Ivan, if you're watching, you know, great guy. He's really
Wonderful.
helping us a lot. So yeah, so we have to go through the process and just show basically the contract and say, okay, we finished phase A, now we're starting phase two, and we need this
Sure.
dispersed. Obviously, you need it like a week before to pay rather than wait like 10 days and pay after the work is done, which a lot of contractors, they want the money once they're, they want the down payment, which is up to like $1,000 before they even start, and then they want the
Sure.
first day, they want the other 50%, and then once they're done, they want the rest of it. So you got to have that money already in hand, and I'm sure you guys all understand that. So you would disperse the money accordingly, so there won't be any delays.
We're definitely aware of of some of the things going on, some of the ongoings with contractors and all, and so again, that's one of the complexities, right? To this issue when you say that nothing here, unfortunately, is cookie cutter.
Yeah.
There's cookie cutter communities. There's nothing that is just 100% the same. Every single survivor has their own different story, their own different version, their own different need. And as long as that's the case, we can't be rigid in our approach either. So we try to be as flexible and as accommodating as we can
Hmm.
in the realms of our program.
Yes.
But again, that's why I say, those case managers are truly as I say, the heroes that work with our survivors on a daily basis as you all continue to try to rebuild your homes and your lives.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, real quickly, two questions. We talked about it. You mentioned it can take as little as 10 days, but if you can just mention those couple of things, like the process and how long it typically takes. Let's say someone that is watching this video and they like, you know what, let's apply for SBA. We didn't think we need it, but now we need it, especially if once they hear about the low interest rate, 2.5, 30-year term with first year no interest. So what's the typical, let's say for a home? You said like a 10 days start to finish, and they
Well,
can't do it over the phone, right? They have to go to the in person.
they have to do it in person now. No online, no over the phone. It has to be, again, it's case by case basis. And if you get all your paperwork, all your ducks in order, as we say, right? And
Hmm.
again, everything, when you go to apply, two things that you need a phone and an email address.
Hmm.
Because with that phone and email address, they're going to create a portal for you.
Hmm.
All the communication is handled through the portal, right? So if we need a document, if we need a copy of an ID, we need a copy of a tax return, it's going to get requested through the portal. And you can either upload it yourself in the portal, or you can walk into the office and have our staff upload it for you as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, that being said,
Hmm.
human nature is that some people, when you request something of them, are going to have that for you all by tomorrow, close of business.
Hmm.
Others, unfortunately, are going to take a little bit longer. They're going to forget. They're not going to make it a priority, if you would. So, as we were just talking about, there's no cookie cutter approach, right?
Right.
There's no cookie cutter response either. But
Yeah.
really, from the time that we get all your documents that have been requested, whether you get them to us the first day or the 100th day, um, once we have everything in place, you're looking at about 10 to 14 business days
14. Okay.
to possibly get a response.
Okay, that's good to know. And then the requirements and the stuff that they need is just basic stuff, ID, email, and of course they gotta be the owner of the home. So they gotta show the deed and things like that to get the process and all the ducks, like you said, in row to
All the
make the process smooth.
to get it going, and absolutely, and just to further enhance those that haven't applied, there is no cost to apply. You
Hmm.
lose nothing. If you feel, hey, I might need this, I might not, go submit your application.
Mm,
It's not going to hurt you any, and if you get it, fantastic. Again, doesn't mean that you have to take the funds, but at least you know that you've applied and you've been approved,
yeah.
and they're there if and when you may need them.
Yeah. So like a backup cushion, in case, you need a little extra cash, y-
Absolutely,
like
and then
like a line of credit.
yeah, almost. I mean, sure. Just, as you say, just start stacking your money for whenever you're ready to build.
Hmm. Hmm.
And now you know, hey, I can count on this much from my insurance. I can count on this much from SBA. I can count on this much from any other, funding source that I may have gotten. And thus hopefully all of it together aligns with your overall end goal and objective of
Yeah.
building your home.
So that's great. I mean, yeah, all your listeners, especially the victims like myself and you all, don't wait last minute. You try to be proactive and have all this ready. Even if you have enough cash, you have enough capital, family or whatever that's there to help, organizations, whatever, you never know. Someone might need that money themselves, and they're like, you know what? I thought I could help you, but I need that money myself. So sorry, I can't give you that. Family loan of 1%. With no interest or whatever. um, but yeah, it's always good to have it. So it's a win-win. Even if you don't need it, it doesn't, like you said, doesn't hurt to apply. You don't have to pay processing fee. You don't have to pay all these extra fees to the loan, like some
Correct.
other agencies
Sure.
probably.
A- And furthermore, just to take it one step further, keeping this in mind, because we certainly know that there's a lot of people waiting on litigation as well. Assuming that you get an SBA loan, and I say litigation, but it can be any other
Mm,
source, right? If you pay back your loan early, there is no penalty for repayment of your loan.
early. That's
So
good.
there is again, that's another component of this that certainly allows borrowers to understand that if some way, somehow down the line they come across funding in another way, that they can go ahead and pay the SBA loan off and not be penalized for early repayment.
Yeah, yeah, and that way they'll save on interest.
Sure,
Yeah,
absolutely.
thank
And
you.
keep in mind, if it's repaid back within the first year, you really pay no interest because there's no interest in right.
That's true.
So, and it really does allow for certain things to, or there it certainly lines up for the survivor to potentially take care of it all before even that first payment is due.
Yep, yep. That's great. That's great. Yeah. All right. So we've been covering a lot of things. Some of these questions we already covered, like the deadline for Altadena residents should be aware of before applying. There's no deadline, from what I understand.
So again, we did have a deadline. The deadline
Oh,
was
there's a
actually
deadline.
the
So
deadline was December 17th of last year. And that's why I'm being very clear when I say we are still accepting applications, but on a case by case basis.
okay.
So if you did not get trapped in by the 17th, again, we as a whole, SBA understood that the need was still so big within these two communities, Pasadena and Pasadena, that our customer service staff, deadline passed, they left. Us as public affairs, public information folks are still here on the ground and realized that the need was still way too big. And
Hmm.
so, through having conversations with our management team and our leadership, they were amazing and said, great. They took our feedback and said, we'll get our customer service staff back to answer questions. Let's talk about mitigation. Let's help those that have applications in and some way, somehow they got lost in the shuffle or they didn't
Hmm.
respond.
Hmm.
But within that, they now are allowing, again, new applications.
Okay, that's good to know.
It's case by case basis. If you go in there and share with our staff, you know what, I completely forgot about it. That might not work. Or, you know what, for some reason, I didn't want to do it. But if you show that there's, hey, I really just wasn't ready mentally, emotionally, or, something was
Yeah,
going on that didn't allow me to
yeah,
go through this process during the original
yeah.
original time frame, then it's certainly going to be
Okay.
considered, and that's why we use the term case by case
Oh,
basis.
okay, that's good to know because right now, one big thing, and this is one of the reasons I started this Altadena Rebuild Exchange group and podcast, is to help people that are having challenges mentally, especially. I've been hearing, a lot of stories about, people getting advantage of, and they're still in depression because some are underinsured, some are not even insured, because their house is paid off. They're, if there's no loan, a lot of the times it's not required to get insurance.
Correct.
So for people like that, I'm sure there's a little bit more exception, right, to help them out because they're in depression. They're lost and they just didn't have anyone to talk to, or they don't have family, they don't have the support group. They've been misled and they're literally homeless. I mean, like, sometimes we say homeless ourselves because we don't have our home, we're in a temporary home, but there's some that are losing their homes because they just can't make the second payment to live where they live. So in case by case basis, I'm sure those are all considered, right? When it comes to mental.
Absolutely, 100%. And we hear the stories, we see the survivors, we talk to the survivors, so we're fully aware of what's going on, right? I like to believe, I've been here um a long time here in the area,
Mhm.
and I can tell you that I feel as if I have a good um
Understanding.
I have a good understanding. I have a good pulse of what's going on, right? And so first of all, for those that need any type of help that's not financial, I hope they know that there is other assistance available for them, right, to help get them through the tough time. But as you
Mhm.
said, it is intended to help those that are ready now, right? Because we certainly understand that not everybody grieves the same, and not everybody's time frame for grieving is the same.
Mhm.
So I think that's why this decision from SBA to allow for continued applications on a case by case basis is so important and so critical at
Yeah.
this time, because again, unfortunately, the this disaster was so big
Yeah.
and affected so many people that I'm sure we're still not reaching everybody. There's some people
Mhm.
that left originally and have not come back and might not be familiar with the full gamut of services that SBA offers,
Yes.
but they either haven't made their way back or they just weren't ready for different reasons, as you outlined, right? Can be for those and many others. But we're wanting to deliver this message. We are still here. We're here to help. These resources are available. There's no cap. We don't
Mm.
say we're going to stop lending when we reach 4 billion, 5 billion. I'll share with you, Kawork, in terms of disasters throughout US history, this has been the disaster where SBA has offered the most assistance. At last count, we had offered over $3.3 billion to survivors to help them get their lives back in order, at least financially.
Mhm.
And we're still here. We're still lending. If you need assistance, haven't applied, make your way to our disaster loan outreach center, which is a collaborative, which
Mhm.
is to the Legion Hall at the Palisades, and hopefully we can get you the help that you very much deserve and might be needing at this point to help get your lives back on track.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's very, very helpful, especially, for those that are lost, they're still in shock, they're still in the fog, they're still coping a lot of anxiety. I mean, I've talked to some that they're even having PTSD issues. So that's good that you guys are all understanding all those case by case uh, basis. All right, so moving on, typical advice and awarenesses. Question: what is one piece of advice you would give to Eaton Fire survivors who are unsure whether they should apply? They're just, we kind of talked about that. I think everyone should apply, but what would you kind of mentioned it, but you can.
Well, we'll reemphasize, right? And actually take a different approach. The one thing that I can share with you is that I've also talked to survivors who disqualified themselves before they even go and apply. In their own mind, they're saying, I'm probably not going to
Hmm.
qualify because I don't think SBA will approve me because let's not disqualify ourselves. Again, it costs nothing to apply.
Yeah.
If approved, you don't have to take the funds. Let's get you in there. Let's get your application in.
Hmm.
And if all things go well and you get some funding and you need it, now you know it's there for you to use. If you don't use it, not a big deal. We're okay with it. But
Hmm.
that would be my advice. Let's not disqualify ourselves before walking into that office, submitting our application and seeing where things are.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, because a lot of people are overwhelmed right now. Especially those that, in case they didn't have the capacity to apply yet. And like you said, you guys guide and help applicants. Through the process step by step.
We have some wonderful and amazing customer service staff that is at both locations. And as you mentioned, walk in there, have a conversation with them. They're there to walk you through the process, to have a conversation with you if you like about the process, about again the benefits of it. Our customer service staff has been amazing. They've been on the ground. You know, Alan, Jesus out there at the collaborative. I know Deborah's out in the Palisades. Amazing, amazing customer service folks that again have their hearts in the right place and take their roles seriously. As soon as the survivor shows up, they're gonna be there to answer questions, walk you through the application, whatever it is that you need addressed. They are going to be there more than happy to help you. If you do go with the intention of applying, our application process is not a long one. Once you sit down in front of one of our staff members, you can be in and out of there in 15, 20 minutes at the most with a
Hmm.
completed application. And again, once you get your application completed, it's just a matter of you keeping up with the portal. But
Hmm.
more importantly, again, I would certainly encourage anybody who hasn't applied and would like to get to the collaborative, get to the Palisades as soon as possible, because truly we don't know how long we're going to be here this time around.
Hmm.
There's no time frame that they've given us. We don't know we'll be here a week, a month, two
Hmm.
months. At this point, it really is just based on the need. And so as long as the need for us to be there is still something that the community and of course, we're invited guests of the governor and they see and deem appropriate, then we'll continue to be here. But
Okay.
that can go away tomorrow,
Anytime.
next week, at any point in time. So please, if you haven't gone out there and you need financial assistance, make your way out there, talk to our wonderful customer service staff and allow them the opportunity to explore the ways in which we can assist you as a survivor.
Yes.
I know we didn't get into it too much, but it's also for nonprofits. I know there was certainly some
Mm.
nonprofits that either lost their space as well, and or we had one nonprofit in which their biggest fundraising event had to get canceled. And so again, we get back to economic injury, right?
Hmm.
That one big fundraising event that typically carried them for the whole year, they weren't able to have it.
Hmm.
So we certainly don't want to leave
Leave
nonprofits
them out.
behind. Their interest rate is a little different. They're at
Oh,
3.62% for the
3.62.
nonprofit
Okay.
community. So I just want to throw that out there. I feel that nonprofits, unfortunately, sometimes are left behind, and I certainly want to stress that if you're a nonprofit, if you were impacted physically, or your building was impacted physically, or you are suffering economic injury, you can potentially qualify for these disaster loans also.
So those are a lot of organizations that help the community, churches.
Sure.
I don't know if schools are nonprofit, but yeah, I'm sure nonprofits know. So
Correct.
it's kind of like business, but it's a little different.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as you say, nonprofits know who's registered as a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Some churches may qualify depending on the services that they offer. Some may not. But again, if there's a doubt, again, we get back to it, right?
Yeah.
Walk
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
collaborative, walk into the regional, let's begin those conversations.
Yeah,
Let's have that dialogue so that we can try to assist you as best we can.
yeah, yeah, because we do have a lot of churches. Pasadena, Altadena is a big church, faithful community. So I know a couple of churches that burn in Altadena. Now, I don't know exact number, but yeah, well, thank you for being there for every single realm of community that's out there and all support. So yeah, we can wrap it up. Thanks for adding that nonprofit in there.
Course. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And let me throw one more thing before I do wrap it up.
Okay.
I'd be remiss if I didn't say this could work. And
Okay.
truly, I'll start by saying that the community of Altadena, the Palisades, being in this area, right? Man, it's hard not to get enamored with the community at large. And I
Hmm.
can't tell you how many survivors, how many individuals I've met, those that are doing the good work, those like yourself, good work that I've seen at multiple events
Hmm.
because you want to make things better, not only for yourself, but the community at large.
Hmm.
Every disaster that I've ever been to, you can see the progression. First comes the shock. And then
Hmm.
out of that shock, there will be community leaders,
Hmm.
people ingrained within the community that become the light during a very dark time. And
Hmm.
so I commend you for what you're doing.
Thank
You're
you.
one of a handful of people, or not even a handful, many people that I can
There's a
think
lot.
of on the top of my head that are doing the great work of being there every single day for your community, being a voice of reason, being a voice of valuable information, helping with resources, right? Whatever they may be, whether it's financial, whether it's a pair of shoes, whether it's anything.
Hmm.
I've seen it all in these two communities. And I cannot tell you, number one, how proud I am for each one of your communities
Hmm.
and coming together during these very difficult times. But what a profound effect that it's had on me personally. I can't speak enough of Altadenians, Altadena,
Hmm.
Pasadena, the
Hmm.
Palisades, and I just want to give kudos
Yeah.
to all of you
Thank you.
for the efforts that you all are putting forth because
Thank
it
you.
really is a gargantuan effort that is required to get through this. But I can see the rays of light in certain organizations, certain individuals that continue on a daily basis to put forth their best so that the community at large can again, as we put it in our words, recover, rebuild, and show their resilience. So thank you again for the opportunity.
Yes.
I
Thank you.
appreciate everything that you've done, and without a doubt, I know I'm going to see you at one of
Oh
the
yeah.
next events that come up in the area.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah. Thank you, Gabriel, for taking the time out of your busy day, to joining us. You know, I'm glad there's someone like you that's there outreaching and being there to assist, those events and those organizations to come up with a plan and to move forward, especially for those that kind of missed the bus because of the mental issues they were going through. So hopefully you guys will be there a little longer for them. And to everyone that haven't applied, especially if you've gone through hardship, because we all went through it too. And after this disaster, uh, I was lost too in the beginning, and I I was kind of losing hope in humanity until the first, second, third day. I saw all these organizations and people, coming out, like you said, like we're light, like a bigger, like a lighthouse in a lost sea. And I was seeing a light through the tunnel, through the smoke, and I big thanks to all those organizations that stepped up. Like
Mm.
there's a lot of to name, but I don't want to name one and miss one. But you guys know who you are. You guys helped us all in every way through donations to, opening up your churches and halls with stuff that because most of us left with just the shirt on our back, so we don't even have jackets or whatever. So in a lot of ways, we all benefit from that too. So now I feel like now that I'm got myself on my foot, I want to help the ones that are still need help. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now, especially when it comes to rebuilding, because I have a builder's background and I want to try to share that after, especially hearing some stories of some homeowners being frauded and a lot of other stories. I want to do these podcasts to give them the knowledge that they probably were misled by other fraudulent contractor, or not even a contractor really. So yeah, if whoever's watching it, please let us know, give your input, you what you think of all this and what you would like to see, and whatever questions you have for Gabriel, drop it in the comments. We'll try to answer it as it comes. And hey, Gabriel, we might do a part two. It all depends on where this all leads us to. But again, thank you, everyone. Funds is one of the most important things. Without the funds, you can't do much. So be very wise on rebuilding, estimating, preparing, and even if you're not sure, even you think you're covered enough to rebuild, you never know. There could be unforeseen. So just apply. It doesn't hurt to have that extra fund in hand. And I want to just end it by saying, thank you to all. And thank you to SBA and Gabriel. And we'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day, and God bless us all. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Thor.
All right. Thank you. Bye.